Good afternoon, everyone. We saw many of you last night, and I guess over the last 6 days, and I'm very glad to be sitting here today, and one, to say that we avoided what I was confident we were going to avoid all along, which was a mass vetoing of the bills. And we have worked hard day and night, especially over the last 6 days, and I believe that we've made amazing progress. You know, the governor has called for a special session on water, and I believe him calling for that special session will be helpful to us. The four legislative leaders are going to continue to meet and to talk this week. And I've also started to brief my members on a framework of what our proposal is. And I just wanted to highlight a few points. We will have staff available to go through details a little later if you would like. But this, after many years, will be a comprehensive package that will include a strong water conservation bill, which will result in a 20% reduction in water use by 2020, a statewide groundwater monitoring mandate, and it's interesting that California is the only state that doesn't monitor groundwater, increased water rights enforcement at the Water Board through higher penalties for illegal diversions and increased reporting requirements, and the establishment of a Delta Stewardship Council and Delta Conservancy to ensure the restoration of the estuary and fix the plumbing so that we can ensure a reliable water supply for 2/3 of the state. What's currently being contemplated, as you know, is a $9.4 billion bond, water infrastructure and environmental restoration. And I believe that this will represent the most comprehensive and significant water infrastructure and policy advances since the State Water Project was established in the 1960s. We also, with this package, once it is implemented, has the potential of creating close to 200,000 jobs. So I think after a great deal of effort within the Assembly, we've been working diligently really since the last year and a half. And in a bicameral fashion, we've been working together for months. And, you know, I'm happy to say that we have reached the progress where we have. Now, having said that, we would be taking it too far to say that we have a solid deal that all four leaders are agreeing with and we're putting up on the floor. I think we have taken a significant step. My Republican colleagues are reviewing language today. They should get back to us with their input tomorrow. I'll be working all week long with my caucus in updating them and reviewing the language and getting their input. The Assembly has not scheduled a date yet as to when I bring my members back, but we'll be doing that by the close of business today. And with that, Mr. Pro Tem.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Great to work with you as always. Water, as you know, is considered one of the unsolvable issues in this state. There has been a seeming barrier for decades in terms of resolving California's water challenges. We believe that we are on the verge of breaking that barrier. As the Speaker said, over the past, I lose the time context here. It really started at the very beginning of this year and this session. But certainly since we came back from the summer recess in mid-August, we have been focused primarily on breaking that barrier. And though we didn't quite finish by the end of the regular session on September the 11th, we picked up right where we left off, and we have continued to work. And over the last week, with the governor and the Republican leaders of both houses, we have had some significant breakthroughs on the concepts that will hopefully lead to legislation passed by the requisite number of members in each of our houses and earn the support of the governor. When negotiating an agreement like this, and certainly though it has been the legislative leadership, there have been many interested and involved members from the very, very beginning. There are two ways to look at sort of a final agreement when it does come out. On the one hand, stakeholders and members will look and say, well, geez, what did I have to give up? And how is this different from the way I introduced my bill, or even how the bill may have been in play a month ago? And when you look at it from that perspective, some will say, well, geez, this isn't exactly what I wanted. On the other hand, when you step back and when people, members, stakeholders, and most importantly the public, have an opportunity to review this work, I believe that they will see this as the most comprehensive advance in water in California in many decades. And here are the elements of the package, as the speaker indicated. Not only will we have a significant investment piece, a $9 billion plus bond, but maybe more importantly, we will finally tackle the issue of the California Delta and establish a new governance entity that will allow us to cut through the 200 some odd government entities that have some responsibility over the Delta and bring some coherence to trying to meet the co-equal goals of restoring its broken ecosystem and assuring water supply reliability. But we don't stop there. We'll also put forward aggressive 20% conservation standards for the state, groundwater monitoring, and making it a serious violation to divert water when you don't have the right to divert water. And so there's a whole lot of work left to do, because a conceptual agreement needs to be translated into actual legislative language, and we're beginning that today. And then, of course, we have to work with our caucuses and the stakeholders and hold public hearings and make sure that everybody has a chance to vet this. But as long as, you know, to use the old cliche, perfection doesn't become, you know, the enemy of the good or the great in this instance, we think we have a very good chance of success. Thank you.
With that, we'll take a few questions.
Senator, can you talk a little bit about the requirement for farm conservation? You talk about 20%, but you're not going that deep on farms. Can you shed a little light on what agriculture will have to do?
Well, agriculture, we're sort of looking at the concept of, you know, BMP, best management practices. And, you know, there are a lot of ways to meet the goal. And for different industries, we want to make sure that we equip those industries or different sectors of the economy with the best tools to be able to meet the overall 20% goal. And so we do have a different way of approaching it with urban water users, agricultural water users.
And different types of agricultural water users.
In different types. But
large farms versus the small ones.
But again, the main thing is that we will be committing ourselves to significantly more aggressive water conservation. Because here's the thing. There's a lot of debate about storage, and storage, as you know, will be part of the bond. That's no secret. Doesn't preordain dams. It doesn't. It simply says that storage projects have the ability to compete for a discrete pot of money, and the competition will be based on which project brings the most public benefit. And that public benefit has to include at least 50% of its public benefit being delta ecosystem or environmental restoration. So we'll have storage. But the reason why we think this package has a chance to pass is because at the same time, the package calls for aggressive water conservation. So if you're hitting every element, even imperfectly, you have a chance to keep together a that's all right. It's all right. Now I completely lost my train of thought. That's it.
I just got around the issue of the lawsuit threat that they're worried about with the conservation mandates. The Republicans were really concerned about that. Is that if you have these new mandates that a private group could bring a lawsuit if those mandates aren't met, saying you're wasting water.
We're working on language, all right? That's one of the language pieces that we are working on to ensure that the underlying information could be used in any existing water proceeding, but to protect against the sort of concern that they have described, that the failure to actually meet the standard is not in and of itself the basis for a new cause of action or evidence to support a violation. So we're
The governor's been threatening about this veto with mass legislation, and yet it really didn't happen, and we still didn't really have a water deal on his desk. How do you feel about future threats?
Well, first of all, in my opinion, threats are inappropriate, period. The governor knew that we were working on this deal day and night. We were working hand in glove. He's right there at the table. And so given that we were trying to resolve a problem that hasn't been resolved in the last half century, that I knew that he recognized that we were doing the best we could. And I was certainly hopeful that he would do the right thing, and he did. So we didn't finish. But he certainly knows, I mean, in these negotiations, you didn't have anybody drawing hard ideological lines in the sand. Both the Democrats and the Republicans were trying to see where we could give and where we could negotiate. And so I'm glad that he did the responsible thing. The other thing about it is that, you know, all of us agree that water is a critical issue, but out of 700 pieces of legislation, there are a lot of issues that are critical to a state like California. So bills relating to education, public safety, health, a lot of different areas. And I'm glad that he essentially approached the 700 bills just like he would have in any ordinary legislative session, and that is he passed some, he vetoed others. So
I think the key to,
what did you say?
you know,
So that's a no, you don't, future threats aren't.
it doesn't,
doing anything?
let me, you know what, I think one of the things I've learned over my months in this position is that you have to filter out the noise. And you have to keep your eye on the ball. And the prize here is a comprehensive water agreement that moves California forward, in addition to many of the policy bills which the governor, in fact, ended up signing. Look at the hospital bill that provides $2.3 billion for hospitals. As one example, removing the firewall between educational data and evaluation, and you know, if you don't get caught up in all that stuff and just do your job, generally it works out. And in this case, of course, it worked out.
But, you know, your question was, in the future, would we take him seriously? I take threats seriously. I mean, he did a mass veto last year of the bills because of the budget. So I take them serious, but I'm going to fight them, and I'm going to continue to say that it's inappropriate.
And I would agree it's inappropriate.
Water for a minute. You obviously have chosen your words very carefully here.
We always do.
You don't have a deal. You're on the verge. You are something a whole lot of work left to do. I mean, are you really on the verge, or you have a whole bunch of details that still have to be worked out that are going to be difficult to work out?
No, I think we're really on the verge. And, you know, I can tell you from when we started, at least this latest round, 6 days ago, we weren't on the verge. And frankly, I was going back and forth every hour as to whether or not we had taken a step forward or 2 steps backwards. I do think that we're on the verge, and I think that we have come a very long way. And as I laid out in my house, the steps are Mr. Blakesley is going through the language. He's going to get back to me in a day or so, but it's close enough on the verge that we're bringing our members back to deal with this.
This week,
All of that's been going on all the time. So, you know, throughout the weekend, we'd had various phone calls with, you know, the environmentalists, water districts, et cetera. So I think they've been involved.
we're all consulting with the stakeholders and key members along the way. And somebody over the weekend, since it was football time, asked me to sort of put it in football terms. So I'll just say this. It's 1st and 10 at the 5-yard line, and we're neither the 49ers nor the Raiders. That's
And now he's going to tell me what that means. Wait a minute. You asked a question. I wanted to respond to that. Well, I mean, let me just describe one. I mean, the bond will be an area of contention. It's a GO bond, and the pressure on the general fund will be an area of contention, given that we've had several years of devastating cuts and a fiscal, crisis. And one of the things that we're talking about doing with the bond, the GO bond, dividing it up into 2 tranches, so it would be $4.5 billion, and then several years later, another $4.5 billion. So the pressure on the general fund won't be, as great, but nevertheless, there still will be pressure. In terms of the areas of policy, I think there's points of contention in each category. The environmentalists would obviously like it to be a lot stronger, and the Republicans would like, it to be a lot less. So there are points of contention in every category, but I don't believe that the points of contention are such that there would be a major rupture. I think that we've gone a long way.
And it's going to be incumbent upon the leaders and the governor, obviously, to work with our members and to lay this out dispassionately and to make the case, which I strongly believe, that there is so much more good in this than what might be lacking or what people object to. And that's, at the end, how these packages need to be judged. And we know what the vote thresholds are. It's 2/3 for a bond. It's a majority vote for the policy pieces, but we're working with the Republicans. We want to make this as bipartisan as possible. And this is just the next stage of trying to complete this important work successfully.
How are you addressing concerns of water districts in the North Bay area about their existing water rights?
This is a very vexing issue, and believe me, I'm feeling it myself because my water districts in my city are concerned about losing existing water rights. Let me say a couple things. Number one, the language is very, very clear, and we will get this to you today, that nothing we are doing here affects existing water rights. And so there are a lot of lawyers, and I'm one myself, so I think it's a great profession, but there are a lot of water lawyers that are painting worst-case scenarios. And if those worst-case scenarios all, become the dominant part of the debate here, then, we're going to have some major challenges. But if people step back and see that we're clearly protecting water rights, then, it should be fine. And then one last comment. I mean, here's the challenge, and this is why it's been decades since anything has been done. Let's simplify this. In California, we have more people, less water, and a failing delta that at least 2/3 of Californians depend on. Something has got to change here. And that's what we're trying to grapple with in an intelligent and balanced way. But, of course, nobody wants to even contemplate having to change anything they're doing if they've got it, if they're in a good position. But we have to move all of California forward.
Yes.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
If the controller came out, the September cash report figures, tax revenues more than $1 billion below expected, some spending's done up higher than budgeted. Any idea, are you going to be calling back a special session of the legislature or some kind of budget revision anticipated down the road to deal with this? Because it's not a recipe for success so far.
We don't see doing that immediately. We'll be bringing back folks, in the normal cycle in January and dealing with it then. We don't see the need to bring people back immediately.
And I want to make one comment about the bond because it relates to your question. I think this is very important to get out. Even though we're talking about a $9 billion plus general obligation bond, the way that we are contemplating this is a limitation on the amount of bonds that can be sold before 2015. And the concept now is to sort of divide it in half. If it is 9.4 for the sake of discussion, then 4.7, only 4.7 could be sold before 2015. And the idea here is to try to even out and ramp up slowly the repayment, obviously, that would go with a large geo bond, because we are very sensitive to the state of the general fund, given what's occurred over the last year plus. Yes.
Yes, one vote.
One vote.
Next year, but
Don't
not
know.
sure which ballot.
Don't know June or November yet.
The public employee meetings or
We're meeting with our people are meeting with them, I think, as we speak this afternoon, to go with loose. Yes, loose ends.
Oh, the governor called it already, and so we'll be calling our members back. Your members will be back.
Mine are coming back. I've scheduled session for 9 o'clock Wednesday morning, but remember, we have some unfinished business, some of the 2/3 bills that
Yeah, I'm sure.
probably we will.
Wednesday,
Yeah.
not tomorrow. We haven't set a date yet. We will set a date by the end of the day.
Best guess that you're gonna try and bring back this week?
Possibly, if not, first thing next week.
And would you try to start if you get
We will organize the special session. Yes. Oh, no, we haven't figured any of that out yet. Haven't figured any.
A loose end. A loose end. Yeah.